guys, good evening. Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. It is our how manyth episode? I've lost count of how many of these we have done. I just wanted to welcome everyone who is currently watching right now. I hope since the last time we did this show, you are keeping well. You know, we've had the whole corona stuff, we've had the pandemic, we've had quite a few people that, obviously we had the Black Lives Matter discussion last time. There's so much that's been going on in the world and we've said like, oof, 2020 is a bit of a something. But we thank God and we're thankful that we are here. I just wanted to introduce you guys to our guest speaker. But before I go into that, before I go into that, I just wanted to introduce the topic so you have more of a reason as to, you know, why we have this guest speaker. So we will be talking about courting. Is courting still a thing in this day and age? It is. Is it still a thing? I mean, for our generation, I know back in the day they used to do it and it used to be, it's something that we deem as quite traditional. But today we're going to be talking about whether courting is still a thing. How do you know if your current partner or the person that you're seeing or dating is the one? But yeah, let me get you to introduce yourself to everyone watching and then we could go from there.
Okay, thanks Roxanne for having me on your show. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So for those who don't know me, my name's Karen Omofa. I'm 29 years old. I'm currently obviously married, been married for 6 years, and I'm 29 years old, and my profession is a solicitor, lawyer.
Yeah. Okay, now she said she's 29.
Yes.
And you've been married for how long?
6 years, over 6 years.
It's been over 6 years, right? Yeah. It's been over 6 years.
Your
6-year anniversary was in March, right?
Yeah. It was in March.
It was because you didn't really get to do anything because of the lockdown, right?
No, we didn't. So normally we're on either on holiday or we would go out for dinner. So obviously lockdown, corona, COVID-19 things. We
try to be an enemy of progress.
Well, we just obviously just had date night in and had dinner at home, and yeah.
Okay, married life must be nice.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Okay, now one of the reasons why obviously we have Karen as a special guest, and when I say she's genuinely a special guest, is because she can shed a lot of light. Yep, lick it. Thanks. Lick it. Ooh, let's do it together. Yeah. One of the reasons as to why she is a special guest, especially with this topic of conversation right now, is because, like she said, she's 29 and she's been married for 6 years. So for some people that may be, whoa, like you got married quite young, because that means she was 23 and obviously you would have known your partner for a bit of time beforehand.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, marriage isn't easy and you've done it successfully for 6 years and we pray that you'll see many, many, many more years.
Amen. By the grace of God.
Hallelujah. Yeah. So yeah, there's so many things we want to talk about. So first of all, we know that it's not easy. We know that there was a process in terms of getting to where we needed to be or where you are currently right now.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions I want to ask, let's start off all sweet because I am a sucker for romance and I love love stories. So, Karen Omofa, Mrs. Karen Omofa.
Mrs. Yes.
How did you and your husband meet?
Okay, so we actually met back in uni. So how do I even start? Okay, long story short, yeah, we met at uni. I was in my first year. Are we going into story time?
This is story time.
Okay.
All right, before we start story time, I want you guys to be very interactive. I want to hear you guys comment. Well, I can't hear you, but I want to see comments. I want to see you guys comment. I want you to share your stories, your experiences, your own personal thoughts on this topic. Is courting still a thing? And I mean, within this day and age, in this generation, how modern day is, everything like that. But definitely, if you want to throw in your own courting stories or your own views in it, please do get interactive. I will be watching both Facebook and the YouTube comments. Please make sure that you do share this link. You don't know who may be blessed today. And it's not just for the young people. It is for every and anyone. And those who are married, please do share your own views and your experiences and wisdom, because you guys are the ones that have done this beforehand and you can let us know. So whether you're for or against it, just please you know, let us know. But yeah, back to story time, sorry.
Yeah, so we met in university, so back in 2009. So I suppose, yeah, we met in 2009. We met at uni at a fellowship on campus. And I think there's probably two versions of this story. So you probably have to ask my husband what his version was. But I suppose we met outside Christian fellowship. We spoke briefly. And the interesting thing about us meeting was we actually went to the same college together, but and had mutual friends, but our paths weirdly just never crossed. So my friends knew of him, I knew of his friends, but we just didn't know each other existed.
That's
so
crazy.
yeah, we just met outside the Christian fellowship. I feel that, well, he said he felt like I was his wife straight away. I had recently been saved, as in given my life to Christ, was taking my relationship with Christ more seriously. So I was just like, okay, I want to focus on Jesus and my books and get my law degree, and that was pretty much it. But then I suppose as we got to know each other, as we were friends, so we were friends for, I suppose, about 5 to 6 months, just you know, just casual friends. And I suppose somewhere along the line, we made a decision to obviously embark on a relationship with a purpose to get married. Yeah, so is that?
That's, I think one of the things I took from that was the fact that you guys had mutual friends beforehand and you never really crossed paths until you met at fellowship.
Yeah.
Which is something, obviously I probably know the story more than a lot of people and I've heard it more times. However, it's really something that, you know, you guys have went to the same college and had mutual friends, but never crossed paths. But then you go to uni, still having the same mutual friends, and then that's when you finally cross paths, when you're at a Christian fellowship. And from then it was like, okay, I know that's my wife and I'm going to make it happen type of situation. Yeah. Basically, I mean, that's probably his story, no? Or is that your story? To be honest, it's both our stories. So he was like, I believe you're my wife. And I was just like, okay. I don't know about that. Yeah, no, because I wasn't, I suppose one of the things about my journey was I wasn't actively looking at the time, if that makes sense. So I wasn't one of those girls that were like, oh, when I go uni, I'm going to meet my husband, we're going to get married and all of that kind of stuff. And obviously, coming from a home with like strict parents, they were basically like, no boyfriend until you become a lawyer. Yeah, basically. So it was kind of like, it was like, for me, I was like, okay, just not really looking for that. But I believe it was the journey that, you know, it was God orchestrated it to be that way. And yeah, I don't want to. Well, we'll still dig in, so we know the depths of it. But I guess obviously that's the first thing. I think one thing that stood out that you just said was the simple fact that, yes, in an African household, no boyfriend until you qualified for whatever it is. But you are a living testimony that you could, you know, I'm not saying you can do both, but you can do both, if that makes sense, because you got married young, you met your life partner at a younger age, and you're kind of flowing with it now. So I guess one of the questions we'll ask is, how long were you courting for? Yeah, so my husband and I, we obviously, because we met in uni, I was in my first year of uni, he was in his second year. So we literally courted for 4 years. So yeah, so we started officially courting in March 2010. Wow. Yeah, and I was obviously in uni, I did a 4-year degree. So after I graduated from uni in 2013, we got engaged October 2013 and literally married March 2014. So. Literally? So you did that in about, what, like 5 months? Yeah, you know what? Unpopular opinion, yeah. I genuinely don't think you need 2 years to plan a wedding. Yeah. I just don't. No. I just think, you know, obviously everyone's financial circumstances are different. It's depending on finances, yeah, but in terms of, you know, I don't think it's... If I could have married earlier,
I probably would have, but obviously university, do your degree, parents were like,
what it is,
you know, you know.
Yeah.
So for us, it was, you know, finish uni, get a job, and get married. And that was the plan. That was the purpose we had right from the start of our relationship.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And you stuck to it, and you literally allowed God to lead and direct you.
Yeah, by the grace of God. It's not easy. 4 years is a long time.
Yeah,
it is
100%.
a long time to be courting and waiting, and yeah.
So what would you say, obviously, was the most difficult thing or things about courting within those 4 years?
So there's quite a couple things, I suppose, just to touch on. I would say the obvious one would be obviously avoiding temptation as a Christian, as a believer. You know, you want to you want to have a godly relationship. You want to have a relationship that glorifies God, and be an example and be set apart. So even though, you know, there's a cultural change which kind of says in this day and age, you know, social media, anything goes. You know, you have to try before you buy. That is, you know, as far as we're concerned, as believers of the Bible, the Word of God, followers of Christ, that's not what we believe to be true. So it's about, you know, seeking a relationship that shows that you're set apart, and it doesn't allow yourself to be tempted by the flesh, and just, you know, setting those boundaries. And there's various, you know, scriptures that kind of can point you into the direction to kind of help you to see that, you know, God wants us to obviously to be in relationships that glorify Him, that 100%. Show purity. And the Bible's very clear, obviously, there's certain things you should not be doing before marriage. So it was about obviously navigating that. You know, you're in uni, you just have to remain accountable, you know, seek wise counsel, those kind of things. You know, it might be, you might feel like it's a bit of an invasion of privacy. You may feel like it's a bit awkward, but, you know, it's very wise to make sure you have counsel and to be accountable, so that you can, you know, successfully court and, you know, be a leading example to so many people who are watching you, because obviously you have, when you're courting, and I think also that's one of the difficulties, the pressure as well, because no one's perfect, obviously. And as a Christian, you strive to obviously follow God's example, to follow the Word of God, and you're not perfect. So I think it's about being aware that, you know, you are called to be set apart, and yes, we are in the world, but we're not of the world. So although obviously people are like, you know, do what you want, YOLO, you only live once, or all that kind of stuff. For us, it was like, well, you know, we're accountable here. What does the Bible say on these things? And the Bible's very clear, you know, keep yourself before marriage and stuff like that. And you have to be mindful that you have non-believers who are looking at you, people who are not necessarily Christians, who are looking at you like,
that's a very valid point.
What's okay, these guys, you know, they say they love God, and, you know, they're saying that they're dating to get married, and they're getting married young. Let's see how it all transfolds, not in a like malicious way, but you know there's that saying, the streets are watching. They're watching, even when you don't think they're watching. So you know, whatever's in darkness will come to light, all those kind of things. So they're watching to see, okay, how are they different to what we're doing, you know. We're saying we're dating. What's the difference between us dating and you guys dating? Then obviously you also have the believers, the people who are Christians, who are maybe younger, who may be older, who are looking at you guys like, okay, you guys are, you know, not even necessarily goals, but they're looking at you like, oh they're an example as to it can be done, courting can be done. You know, there is such thing as godly relationships. And those sort of things. So I think it's just a matter of being aware, but then also more than that, because it's not just about what people think. I think it's also about the fact that, you know, what do you believe to be true in terms of the word of God? Are you going to follow it? And ultimately, do you love God more than you love your fleshly desires? The thing that you want now, but what does God say about it? If God says not now, then do you love God more than that thing that you want? Or, you know, and that's not to say everyone's perfect, but it's to say that there's a certain standard that God requires of us, and it's whether we're going to rise up to that challenge and show ourselves to be set apart and to follow what the Bible says. Yeah. And support one another and lead each other to Christ. That's it.
I think it is hard. I think when you are, especially like I said, is courting still a thing in this day and age, it's kind of like, all right, so there are some people who they want those, you know, that base situation. They want to get married, and they may not necessarily go about it in the way that is predominantly of God, should I say. Yeah. So it's like finding short routes and like shortcuts to doing certain things. Sometimes it just does not work out like that. And people will be watching you. Yeah. Like you said, the non-religious, your friends, people that are probably looking at you with side eye but smiling as soon as you look at them. There are numerous people that could be watching you thinking, okay, you know what? Like, let's see how it plays out for her. And there may be people that are just kind of waiting for you to slip up a little bit so they can be like, aha, see, it don't work. Yeah. It don't work, and I'm going to go back to my worldly ways in terms of dating. So it is a good thing, because I think in that sense you have been an example to show that it is possible and I can do it. I can court from 19 to 23. I can get married at this age. And for me, when you bring up courting to certain people, they're kind of like, who? What? Come again? What does that mean? Like, it's something that right now people do see it as a bit, I don't know, like a bit traditional, so they don't necessarily try and go for it.
I mean, it's dating, but I think one of the things is obviously how the culture, again, the way that things have changed culturally in today's society, in the modern society, modern culture, it makes dating, when you say the word dating, it sounds like very brief, very temporary. I dated that person last week, dated that person next week, that kind of thing. So I can see why when you say courting, people are like, who? But I would challenge that and say, you know, dating should be what we call courting, but because courting has been seen as so traditional, and because dating has been seen as such fast-paced, as in, it's so casual. I think, that's what I think. Dating has become so casual, where really, I believe that it should actually be with purpose, and you know.
Yeah, and I think that's where, for me, when I hear dating as opposed to courting, dating is not it's a bit lighthearted. Okay, I'm dating this person. You're just basically going to chop free meal or whatever. Well, no, but okay, I tell you, like, I'm not dating for free meals or whatnot. But I mean, as in, like, when people say dating, there's not really weight to it. When you say I'm courting someone, that's a step back. You might be like, oh, she finna get married next year. Like, that's how people see courting. So I feel like maybe there's some people that it may be because it sounds too serious to them for them to use that stage. Or sometimes, for me personally, I've always said, but if I turn around and say, okay, yes, I'm going to court someone, that's like an instant no, I want to marry that person. Yeah. But if I say dating, I'm getting to know them, or I'm talking to them to kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to get to know them. But I feel like,
what's the end goal, I suppose?
When I get to know you, I'll find out.
Right, okay.
Does that sound a bit... guys, back me up here. Let me know. I know you guys are watching. Let me know what you think in terms of the difference between dating and courting, and why there's such a major difference. I think I know what the major difference is. I think it's the severity of the word. When I hear courting, I think of, okay, we're getting married next year. Like, when it's dating, it's, okay, you're kind of just trying to suss out the person and see what they're like. Not saying that marriage isn't the end goal, but it's just getting to know someone.
Well, I would go as far to say, when you're courting, you're also still getting to know the person. and I think one of the key things to remember when you're courting is that you're not bound to obviously get to the I do stage. Definitely, you may be courting somebody, get to know them, you know, and be praying about it, and not feel at peace, and just think that, you know what, I don't think this person is supposed to be my husband, or this person's supposed to be my wife. You might break off. You know, there's engagements that break off, and that is a thing, because, you know, for one reason or another, whichever party has decided, you know what, this is not what, you know, I want, this is not what we want, or this is not working for us, or we're not as compatible as perhaps we thought we were initially when we said, okay, we're gonna court, we're going to see where this goes. Like, you're not bound by anything, which is why I would go as far to say that actually courting and dating, I mean, I think maybe it's a preference thing. You know,
it's a preference. I don't,
because Americans say dating a lot.
Yeah.
So I also think it depends on what your culture, but either way, I think that whether you're dating or courting, there should be a purpose, and I feel like there should be some kind of time on it, so that you're not, so both parties are not wasting their time. Like, what are we doing? What's our relationship status? I know that a lot of times in this young generation, I'm still young.
Girl, but, you young.
But because when I just said that, I was like young generation. In today's society, you know, people, they tend to say, oh, we're just talking. We're going to see how it goes. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what's the goal here? What's the purpose? How do you know how long to talk for and then move on? Because I think, you know, both parties can end up getting attached, getting feelings, and it could just be devastating results for both parties if you're just, you know, you don't even know where you stand, and the commitment is not fully there. So it's a bit hard to kind of gauge where both people are in their lives. And I think if one person is saying, well, we're just talking, we're getting to know each other, the other person's ready for marriage and is already in their head planning the wedding. They already know what colour the gala is going to be. Abby. They already know, you know, all the Bella Ninja has just gassed them, and they're just like, I know what I want my day to be like. Meanwhile, the guys perhaps just like, yeah, we're just talking, innit?
I mean, if you're questioning why you've had so many failed talking stages, this may be the answer to what you need to hear, because that is definitely true. And I think we're going to kind of move on to that in terms of the expectations part of it, because if you are dating someone or courting, you need to know what both intentions are. One person can't be on one page and another person's on a complete different page, in a complete different book, on a complete different shelf, in a complete different library. Like, it needs to be that we both have the same intentions, and we're moving to an end goal, and we know what the center is and what we are focusing on. Now, before we move forward, I kind of want to acknowledge a lot of people that are watching with us, and a lot of comments have actually come through. So we've got Habi Ahmed, we've got Auntie Tosin from New York, Moses Amovier, Jibril, we have Joshua, Zainab, Jamal. Hello.
Hi.
These are people from different parts of the world. Welcome. Ebi Elechi, we've got Sister Betta, we've got we have got Farouk Amin watching. We have got Okumbola Seni Amin watching. Rachel is watching. We have, there's so many. Like, guys, if I do not mention you, please do not be offended. Sister Choma watching. Sally Easterbrook watching. Matt watching. Oh, guys, I can't. I'm trying to scroll and I can't see. We've got Biola watching. We've got Poochie Print watching. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We've got Sister Chioma Movia watching. Hey, like, we're going to move on to that because she plays a big part in part of this as well. Quite a few comments coming up. I have someone who has said, we've got Ola Mustafa who says, young guys need to hear this. So you know what that means? That means you guys need to share this link and send it to the young guys that you think need to hear this. We have Abs Rowe who says, courting is old school and boring. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would like you to tell us exactly why, Absro, you think that it is boring. Putchy Prince said, dating is getting to know each other and courting is more intentional, but with the outcome of marriage, which I believe is completely what we have been talking about. Fit Room, courting is a thing, can't lie. People should let their potentials know from the start what it is.
Yeah.
Dating is the beginning that leads to courting, which then leads to marriage. Both words are similar somehow. In America, you are dating. I have not heard the courting in a long time. Yep, that is very true. And Bolasani Amin goes on to say, this topic cuts across both religions. Believe in Allah or believe in God is essential. Let God/Allah take control of your life. And I think it's really necessary to have that kind of base and that foundation of who exactly is, well, let's say that base of religion, that foundation of it, because that will keep you guarded in everything that you do. Do you know what I mean? Or is it just me? I want to hear from Absro actually. Why do you think it is boring? Just let me know. Let me know. I guess it just depends on what your intentions are. If you think courting is boring?
Well, you know, I would say that, you know, if perhaps a person thinks that courting is boring, my guess would be perhaps the person's not ready to get married, or they're not at that stage yet, because I think once you get to a stage where you're looking for a life partner and, you know, you want to, you're not afraid of commitment, and also it may be where you're at, because obviously the Bible says, you know, if somebody is not desperately wanting to be married, but if somebody obviously find it difficult to abstain from sin, that they should look for a partner and look to get married quickly. Not to say that being married is obviously, not to say that you should only get married so that you can get all the advantages that marriage life has to offer. No, because marriage is work, and it, you know, there's more to marriage.
But
than
it must
just
be sweet, or
well,
it's sweet, right?
I'm not going to no further comment on that one, but I suppose what I'd say is, you know, it depends on where you're at in your life. So for somebody who is serious and looking for a life partner and wants to and desires marriage, I think, you know, courting is very much a important part of it. If you're somebody who is not ready to settle down, you know, you're dating, or maybe not even dating, you're not involved at all, then that's fine. But I think, you know, it's important that both parties who are in a relationship, they define what that relationship is, what the purpose is, what the end goal is, what is their timeline. And when you're saying get to know each other, genuinely get to know each other. So, for example, when myself and my husband was courting, we were getting to know each other as in our families were involved. You know, my husband met my parents. I met his family as well. So it's something that you're both equally invested into getting to know each other. Not getting to know each other, we talk on the phone, we have banter. Not get to know, obviously that's cool and that, but there's more to it. Because you know, anyone can say, oh, I'm getting to know each other. You could get to know each other for 8 years and be talking on the phone, and then what? Right?
That's pen pal type of stuff. If you're just texting and just on the phone, you guys are pen pals. There's not really much more to it. But I guess in that sense, like, one thing I'm going to read out, because we've had Abdul come back saying, really and truly, courting is the same thing as dating. However, courting feels like there are restrictions on getting to know the other person. It's very performative.
In what way?
I guess debatable. I think the only reason why I would say that is because it, like he said, it's restrictions, isn't it? And it's very serious. So I think you have to have a specific type of mentality to want to court someone, in all honesty. I'm going to read quite a few because some are really flowing in. And we had Farrah Amin, who said, personally, I didn't date or court my wife before getting married, and we are still going strong. And like we said, well, I would say this. I think it just depends on the relationship, and not everything works for some people. Maybe courting someone can bring expectations that may not necessarily work with the other person, but it just depends on your intentions. I think, let us know, Farouk, if you were, when you saw your wife, I'm sure, or maybe you, I don't know, just let us know. Did you think, okay, you know what, this is my wife? And you still had those intentions of, I'm going to marry her. It wasn't a dilly-dallying thing. It wasn't necessarily a dating thing. You said that, I can't even find it. I didn't date or court the wifey before getting married, and we're still going on strong. So let us know how you do it, because there may be some different types of methods that we could possibly use. Because that's a good one. You're not dating, you're not courting, but you guys are still married and you're still going on strong. So let us know.
I suppose I would be thinking, well, they kind of, the relationship started at one stage and it continued, and it was a natural progression. Maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but marriage is a natural progression of a relationship, especially if you're talking about long-term commitment. Because you know, whether the person courted or didn't date, they ended up being married, and you know, they're strong, which is great. But it seems to me that, you know, it's still, because obviously courting, you're saying that you're getting to know each other with the intention of being married, and if you still arrive at the being married, I'm not saying that that means we shouldn't court. I'm just saying that, you know, it's everyone, each to their own.
It's each to their own. I think one of the comments that came through was define courting, which if we scroll up, someone has put that in there for us, which it says, dictionary says, be involved with someone romantically with the intentions of marrying. I think we've got some people coming back saying, so what is a new school and what is new school and exciting? We have Omalara, who has said, keep moving, you are going higher by his grace. Amen. Whoever said, I guess it means, whoever said it's boring is not serious. I met my husband when I was 16 years. We dated for 15 years before getting married. Wow. That's something. That is, you might need to give us some tips, really. Like, you might need to give us some tips. That's something. 16 years old, you've met at 16, and then by 31, if my maths is correct, you're married. 16, 15, yeah, got that. We have, I guess the end goal of courting is for marriage, whereas dating may have different end goals, wanting to just hang out, getting to know each other, knowing if they're the right person. That is from Nikki. And Farouk has said courting is more serious form of dating. Fitroom has said dating is a general thing. It can be as simple as a dinner, then done. Courting tends to put you in a situation where there's strong intentions to move forward for a long term. And I think Sister Liz is asking Farouk, could it be an arranged marriage? Is that a question for... I don't know about arranged marriages. I think that one day is something for a topic for a complete different day.
Another day, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I want us to quickly move on because we kind of got stuck within that sector of it.
Sure.
But one thing I wanted to know as well is, let's talk about it. Like, let's be real and talk about this specific moment. Like, when you met your current husband now, you were in uni. By the time you graduated, you were 21, 22?
Yeah, so I was 22.
22. 23, you're engaged. 23, you're married, yeah?
Yeah.
What is it like transitioning from, basically, I won't call you a uni girl because other people have uni girl type of definitions in their head, but how did you transition from being a 23-year-old to now being a wife? Because there's prep that comes with that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, I think obviously before obviously while I was courting, the intention was to get married. So obviously it's a matter of just being prayerful. It's a matter of making use of resources and having accountability and you know, speaking to women who you look up to, women who are either also on a courting journey or who are already married, learning about marriage, learning as much as you can, reading, obviously looking at what your role, what part you have to play in a marriage. So looking at the Bible, looking at what's expected of you, but then also looking at examples of people, again, couples you've seen who have successful marriages, and you know, just really trying to figure out how to navigate that. So when I did get married, I feel that it wasn't a struggle for me. I feel like I kind of knew what to expect because I had obviously sought counsel. We did marriage counselling before the wedding day, which I would highly recommend because it kind of makes you talk about things or think about things that perhaps you just didn't even think about beforehand, because, you know, even if it's stuff like how many kids do you want, how soon after you get married you want kids, or just other things. When I got married, literally 6 months after, I started, because obviously I was pursuing a legal career, so I had to do law school, and I was studying part-time and working full-time, doing the LPC at law school. For those who know, you know. So even that, the challenge with that was obviously, okay, you're a new wife, you're working, you're a graduate, you're working a graduate job, and you're also balancing studying. How do you navigate that? And I think, you know, communication is obviously key. You know, having those expectations, but then just figuring out what works for you as a couple, and just, again, I think that's a communication, but yeah, communication is key. And, you know, marriage requires work. You have to invest in it. You have to be open and willing to invest in it. One of the main things that, and I'm by no means perfect, and even 6 years along the line, I still find myself learning. It's a thing where, especially in the new phase, it was like, I've done all the preparation before I got married. Now that I am married, it's like, you also even have to learn how to be a wife to your actual husband, you know, not just what that magazine said or what that book said or 100%. What that podcast said and all that kind of stuff. You have to actually dig deep and learn each other's kind of behaviours, what works, what doesn't work, and just kind of not relieving one another of unrealistic expectations. Because, you know, if you're both working, you know, the hustle and bustle of doing careers. We got married young, but we also sought professional qualifications. So at one point we were both studying and working, and, you know, we're newlywed couple, but we're also like, we had our goals, and we didn't lose sight of our goals by the grace of God. And you know, we've achieved them, and there's even more that we want to achieve by the grace of God. So it's about knowing what's expected of you, but also just kind of taking that time to not put so much pressure on one another.
Okay, so like in that sense, would you say that, because obviously I did actually see a comment here saying that we are waiting for kids, Karen. So let's talk about let's talk about that quickly. And I kind of want to brush on this because, like you said, there's reasons behind it, and I think that's one thing I don't want people to lose focus on. One thing that you have stated here that's very vital is, yes, you got married young, but you both had expectations. You both knew, okay, I want it to be, I want to get this qualification, I want to achieve this, and I want to do that. And maybe you can explain maybe as to when someone can expect Karen to have kids, but
okay, well, so obviously it's something that, yes, we're mindful of. At this point in time, like I said, we got married young, and we both had goals, whether that was professional goals, financial goals, a variety of goals. So we've obviously achieved some of them, and we're still, by the grace of God, planning on achieving more. But ultimately, you know, we believe God is sovereign. When the time is right, you know, it will happen.
Yeah.
And it's something that is on our mind. But yeah, when the time is right, it's happened. But just generally, obviously, for now, we're not planning. And, you know, we're happy with, you know, with where we're at. We've achieved some goals, like, you know, buying a house and stuff like that. So, you know, just wait on it, okay?
Yeah.
God's time is the best time.
That's it. And I think one thing, in sorry to cut you off, in like previous episodes, I remember we had this discussion, I think it was called When Will You Marry? It was probably one of the first episodes we did. So we had that whole thing of, you know, people saying, oh, when will you marry? Then as soon as that's okay, I've gotten married. Oh, when will you have kids? And just like, sometimes, like, you generally don't know the struggles of other people when that question's thrown out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one to ask couples generally, because you know, you may, obviously your intention of asking may be good, but you never know what that couple's going through. You know, myself and my husband, we made that decision that we're going to not have children straight away. We have things we want to do by the grace of God. So, but then, you know, for another couple, that might not be their story. They might, you know, be trying, you know, they might be believing God for a child and it's not happening yet. They may have just experienced something that's horrible, and, you know, the fact that a person's asking them might trigger them and might be uncomfortable. So, you know, I would err on the side of caution. Me, even as a young person, if my friend is married, I'm not even really going to ask them unless they tell me. If they tell me, praise God, you know, fantastic news, or we're praying with you and believing that, you know, God will bless you with a child. But until you tell me something, you know what? Even, I know this sounds silly, but even on public transport, on the tubes, well, before Corona, if I saw a lady, and her, you know, and I'm sitting there and her belly, until I see that badge, because you know, sometimes you might have that thing where you say to somebody, would you like to sit down? And I've been on the train and a lady said, no, I'm not pregnant. It's just my belly. And then the person, obviously, and you're just there like, and I...
You know, I have done that before. And
you see?
It wasn't nice. However, I blamed it on how young I was, because I remember this was ages ago. I was on my way to church and it was back in the day, and it was like, we were on the W3 bus and there was a woman who was standing, the bus was quite packed. I looked at her and automatically thought she was pregnant. Like, I literally thought she was pregnant. So I was probably like maybe a teenager or even maybe younger. So I told the woman, I got out, I was like, oh, do you want to sit down? She looked at me up and down and kissed her teeth. And I said, until I see that badge, I'm going to
that
stay
baby on board
pinned.
badge.
Because
and just generally, it's a bit of it's quite a private matter. So I think, you know, if you're close to them, obviously fine. But, you know, sometimes aunties and uncles, they like to ask, and it's like,
I think we've got Nikki on your side saying, yeah, stop asking invasive questions to couples. Yeah, let's just kind of, there's quite a lot going on in the comment section, isn't there? So a time span of it. I think when it comes to courting and dating, this is how you know that there is something, you know, it's more serious, should I say. So Farouk said that he met his wife in June, did introduction in the following January, and then got married in April, and it took less than a year. And obviously that sounds a pretty normal time span, to be completely honest. Yeah, I think there is a lot that we can take from this. I've always kind of thought, you know, am I old school for thinking that, you know, courting is the way forward? I haven't actually started a courting process ever before, but I think there's more that needs to be learned on it. You need to understand the depth and the dynamic of it prior to, you know, just saying, okay, I'm courting someone or whoever, whatever. Now, we kind of want to round off, but there are some questions, and please, I can see that there are married people that are watching and you do not want to advise us young people, and I'm going to hold you to it. So I want you to fill the comments right now, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, and give us young people who are currently watching and commenting, give us some advice on, you know, preparations towards marriage, what we should do. I even wanted to have a question and like maybe just throw it out there, guys. For young people, how do you know that your partner is the one? Like, how do you know? There is courting, there is getting to know someone, but what is that? What does it take for that light bulb to go into your head and think, you know what, this person's the one. Because I think for you, there was a friend zone stage.
Yeah, there was.
Okay, I think Sister Choma and Pastor Moses will be very interested in this.
Yeah.
Aisha, you'll be very interested in this. Let's talk about it. So
yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about this friend zone stage.
Yeah, so obviously we were friends, and you know, my husband, you know, felt strongly that, you know, he knew from the get-go. You have to confirm with him, but I believe he knew from the get-go that, yeah, this is the woman for me, and this is who I want to be my wife. I suppose for myself, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I was just focused on Jesus, my degree, becoming a solicitor, and that is it,
like what
kind
Mum
of
and
thing.
Daddy said.
Yeah, exactly. But then I think for me, as time went on, and I could see that he, you know, my husband at the time, he was very consistent in his pursuit for me. Even the account of his friends, people who knew him, were able to testify and say, look, this is not the kind of guy who's trying to run game or blah, blah, blah. He's very much someone who's focused on Christ, and like, it's a serious, they basically let me know that this is a serious thing.
This is the real deal.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, but then obviously being, you know, us girls, we like to still friend zone, okay,
yeah,
fine, okay, kind of thing. But I suppose it wasn't until I you know, sought counsel, shout out to Sister Choma. I sought counsel, and she was like, well, have you considered it seriously? Have you prayed about it? And I was like, okay. So, and, you know, she gave me some wise counsel, and then I said, okay, let me start to pray about it. And as I began to pray, I noticed that I felt at peace about, you know, the idea of marrying him. And then also it was a matter of, obviously, in addition to me praying and feeling at peace, I had done my due diligence. So, like I said, his friends around him, they could testify.
Yeah.
I could see, you know, one of the things, I suppose every girl has like maybe a bit of a wish list, but I think one of the main things was for me, especially for where I was in my life in terms of my spiritual walk, was is he a believer? Does he believe in Jesus? Is he actively trying to know Jesus? Does he have a relationship with God? Is he trying to is he trying to kind of live a godly life? Do I see him? Because, you know, when you look at marriage, you think about, obviously as a woman, you're thinking this guy is coming to lead your home, your household.
Yeah.
It's a very serious thing. Can you trust his authority? Do you see him raising your family up in the way you'd want, in terms of in the ways of the Lord, as the Bible's very clear on? Yeah. Can you see him as the priesthood of your home? All these kind of things you start to kind of look at, and, you know, because obviously you don't, as a Christian, you don't necessarily want to be unequally yoked with someone else. So it's a serious thing, and I feel like when I looked at his fruits, and I could see that he was someone who was serious in his pursuit of getting to know God and obtaining knowledge of the Word of God. He believed in the Bible, and he was living by that example.
Yeah.
It was things for me that was, okay, I could trust that this man is serious and could lead me and our future family in Christ.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's one thing. As for me and my house,
we
shall serve the Lord.
Exactly. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. I guess people here are definitely questioning certain timescales, but I want to know what people's timescales are. I think some people are saying, you know, a year. Some people think maybe that's a bit mad. But it's each to their own. I think when you know, you know.
You do, because I always say to people, well, to anyone who will hear me, or like people who are single, I've always said that, you know, enjoy that season of singlehood, because you never know when you might meet that person. And once you meet that person, it doesn't matter whether you're 21, 25, 30, 35 kind of thing. Things could move, you know, quick.
Real fast.
So in terms of, you know, being ready, being financially ready for that wedding that you want, but also the marriage, the house, whatever your goals are, being ready, because literally you can meet somebody tomorrow, 5 months down the line, you know, you've been praying and believing God for something. When it arrives, are you preparing yourself to be ready for when that guy walks by? And hopefully you won't friend zone him.
Wow. I thought that was a shot.
No, not to you. But and if you do friend zone him, you know, hopefully you consider it and, you know, at least pray about it and see, because obviously God gives us the freedom to choose, essentially. So it's a matter of, you know, praying about it, assessing the person, their seriousness, and taking it from there.
That's very true. That's something to think about, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Because there is no rush, and I've always said, like, I think we'll move on to this as well, and see the type of advice that's coming through as well. But I would also say, mate, there's no rushing. You can't put a timing on it or a time scale, because essentially that's how you can end up messing it up. Like, when you're single, as you are single, enjoy that time, because you never know when your Adam or your Prince Charming's going to be round the corner. That's going to come and it's going to be like, okay, cool. So when are we doing this? Because I want to get married. I want to do this. And then you might be like, oh, that might even be a reason as to why. I'm not saying that's why you did it, but that might be a reason as to why you kind of think, hold on, no, friends first, because you may not necessarily be ready for it. If your Adam comes around the corner and says, okay, ideally I want to get married next year, what's in your account so we can decide how we're doing this, planning this wedding, etc. Are you ready? And I think a lot of people jump into relationships, or they think, okay, I'm ready for marriage, but are you genuinely ready for marriage? Females, are you ready to be submissive to well, that's what I was going to say, to an extent, but are you actually no, are you actually ready to be are you ready to be submissive? Men, are you ready to dominate and lead a house and love Christ, like, and love your wife? Exactly. And then love your wife that same way.
Love your wife like Christ loved the church. I said it. Yeah.
So let's do it again.
Yeah.
So
love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Basically. So that's what you need to be ready to do. And there's so many things that guys and girls can be like, okay, they're ready for a relationship. But when it comes down to it, sis, if your husband says that, okay, today I'm working an 8 till 7 and I want obe for and pounded jam waiting for me as I get in. I know some guys will be like, you better Uber Eats when you get home, like. Or there may be some men that don't know that you are responsible for your wife. You can't just take her out of her father's house and come and be doing nonsense, or think that, okay, well, we're both gonna... Like, you have to be ready, you know what I mean? Like, you generally have to be ready. So within that time of you being single, don't be in a rush to find something. And I feel like it's when you're not looking, that's when they come.
Yeah, I can't say for definite. Everyone's different, isn't it?
Okay,
but
for females, I think.
I definitely hear what you're saying about, you know, coming prepared, because even when I think back to when my husband came to obviously ask for my hand in marriage or got my father's blessing, he came with a whole, like, what his plan was.
Yeah.
And, you know, I suppose my parents' requirements was like, we want her to still pursue her career. And, you know, he said that, you know, definitely I'm in support of this and I'll support her to do it. And by the grace of God, he did. And he was very supportive every step of the way. So, yeah.
That's true. And that is literally, that's a serious one. It's great that you... Okay. So Pastor Moses has started. Many people today are looking at the wrong things, like 6-packs in a guy or figure 8 in a lady. Yeah. And that's making them miss out on God's plan for you as a husband / wife, which I think is very true. It's great that you were looking at the right things in him, which is completely true. And I think if we hold that type of, or if we try with that wisdom to go forward and start looking at those things as opposed to what we genuinely want, let's see. Ladies, I feel like with what Sis Choma, I think I'm reading like ahead of time, sorry. But Sis Choma said a man is not serious. A man that is not serious is a time waster. Yep, a serious man cannot be ignored. When one approaches a woman, she should pray and consider. Yeah. And then Sis Choma went on to say, question, what is the difference between a serious man and an unserious man? I think your example is
Yeah.
one thing already. That shows how serious he was. Like, as soon as he saw it, he was like, yep, that's my wife. Okay, so what are we doing? You pray, I pray, cool. If he said, all right, well, let's kind of get to know each other. And he was like, all right, you know what? If you need that time to kind of pray on it, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and actually he gave me that space to do it as well, which obviously allows you to have that clarity and to really seek God to make sure that like your feelings are not all intertwined in it, because you know sometimes if your feelings are so much involved, you might in your head already be like, yeah, like it's a good idea, because your heart is already your heart has already bought into that idea and not necessarily, you know, really thought about again the things that you, because there's things that you think you want and there's things that you actually need in a person. So it's just about having that balance and being aware of it.
No, 100%, I do get it. And I think when you see a serious, it's kind of, there are traits that you'll know when a guy's unserious.
Yeah,
like,
no, definitely.
There's so many things in which, you know, there's the aspect of consistency, there is the actual mindset he has, the goals, how, if you can ask him, okay, so where do you want to be next year? And he's and ahhing. Or if the what are we, or where is this going conversation has to be brought up or is brought up, and he starts doing whiffle or he's shaking, my sister, lodge him.
Even if it's...
Lift him.
I think even the fact that a guy is serious if he's trying to get to know... One of the things that struck me about my husband at the time, one of the first conversations we had, he was genuinely concerned about... my family, like he wanted to know like what my relationship was with my parents, with my siblings, and I just kind of thought, and at that time we were actually like in a study zone place, and I was just like, what's all these questions? But like I knew at the time that there was something different and that he was serious. Do you understand? Because he was concerned about, you know, my spiritual walk. He was concerned about my relationship with my family and what did I do outside of university, those kind of things. I feel like those are part of the things. And someone you can actually, a serious guy also, ladies, if you want to do this check, a serious guy, if you bring up the topic of God or you can actually hold a conversation and talk about the Bible. Yeah.
Word.
Can he talk about the Bible? Can you guys pray together? Is that a thing? Is that cool? Can we just just pray on the phone together? Can we do that? And if it's the kind of thing where like, I feel a bit awkward if we were to do that, then I think you have to kind of question, in terms of, especially if you're thinking you're in a serious relationship. I think we should be at a point where we make these things normal, having, you know, conversations about the Bible, having conversations about your spiritual walk. I think we should normalize this, because that will give you an indication as to the type of husband he will be.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yep. I think, you know, sorry, I'm just really taking in all this information because there's certain things and there are people, and I say this to ladies, and I think I'm going to leave on this note because we are running it behind. We're quite.
Are we ahead or behind?
We are behind, man. No, we are ahead. Sorry. No, one of the last things I do want to say, and it's not that I am married. It's not that I am courting. I'm literally just not doing any of the above. But one thing I have learned is that enjoy your prime, or enjoy being single for that moment, because that's when you find yourself. This is the moment where you get to figure out what you want. And with the expectations, sis, I guarantee you, if you change your picky list now and put in things that are not of, you know, are about six packs, and fellas, it's not about the figure eights, and you change it to things with more substance, I guarantee you what you are going to be looking for within the next however many months, or what you're going to be looking for with your partner, is going to be completely different. And another thing, chicks and ladies, I have to say, because I feel like someone needs to hear this. Listen, it is he who finds a wife finds a good thing, not she who finds a man is blessed. Don't be in a rush to be looking, oh, where's my husband? Like, I get it. Like, don't let aunties and uncles and your cousins be telling you, you know, like, hurry up, like when you're getting married. It's God's timing. But generally, when you are literally not looking And when you're so focused on yourself and you're seeking God and you're focusing on yourself, that's when it's going to happen. Seek God first and all things will be added on to you. Like, let's just throw that out there, because a lot of people jump into relationships or this dating thing without necessarily, kind of blindsided. And I think that's why there is such a big difference in courting and dating, because it's very lighthearted. And as much as guys that are not serious are time wasters, there are a lot of females that are unserious and they only just want to be in a relationship to say, I have a man, or for perks of it. And
yeah, and I suppose just to touch on that, I would say also, obviously just and throughout, just always try to guard your heart as well. So, and just remembering your singleness, God has not forgotten about you. And in the meantime, just use that time to kind of, again, love yourself, be a blessing onto others, learn new life skills. And I always kind of make this joke. Sometimes, as a single lady, you don't even know, again, we've touched on, you don't know when you're going to meet your husband, but like learn different cooking skills. You don't know what race your husband's going to be. You don't know what kind of food he's going to like. I'm not saying that it's all about, you know, cooking. I'm just saying learn different skills, build on yourself, you know, financially build, you know, educate yourself, have hobbies, get into things so that you're a complete person. You should aim to be a complete person before you enter into a marriage or a relationship. So you don't lose yourself, and also you have something to bring to the table. And, you know, that wish list that you have, you should have some things that you're not going to compromise on, but there's some things that are just, you don't need it. And I suppose your network as well. Another thing is, you know, you are kind of who you attract. So, you know, be open to meeting new people. If you're, you know that saying, men are trash, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, where are you trying to meet these men? Because let's be real, there's certain places that if you're trying to meet him there, he's not even the place you are even meeting him, he's not even thinking. Marriage is not on his mind. Relationship is not even on his mind. It's probably not really on your mind. So I think it's about being open and expanding your network of friends. If you're around, you know, godly people, if you attend godly events, you know, places where serious people gather, you know, not saying, again, like you rightly touched on, don't, you know, it's not for the woman to go and find a husband, but naturally, if you're in the correct circles, I think naturally you'd meet, you're bound to kind of meet someone or know of somebody who you can introduce. That whole no new friends thing, you can stay there, because no new friends, all your friends are just married off. And I'm not saying marriage is the ultimate goal. There's more to life than being married, and not everyone is actually called to be married. So there's also that aspect to kind of consider. And I also think in the meantime, be open to celebrate with those around you who are married or who are getting married or getting engaged, and don't be afraid to learn from these people, because there's wisdom in their experiences, life experiences, that you can genuinely learn from and save yourself from perhaps certain mistakes. And anyone who knows me nowadays, if I meet like a couple or someone who has children, one of the first things, I'm just trying to just learn. What's it like? How many kids? How many kids did you want? How many kids do you have? How do you find balancing, you know, work? Because it's a real thing. When you get married, and in this day and age, women tend to have careers and they work as well. It's a real thing, learning how to balance being a mother, being a wife, being a professional lady in the corporate world, those kind of things. So wherever you can learn and educate yourself, you should definitely do it.
100%.
So I think I went on a tangent.
I agree. No, it's all right. Somebody may needed to hear that. But just to round off, I literally want to say, courting is still a real thing, guys, and don't let the world or society or the flesh or people that are not of this walk tell you any other way. Like, it needs to happen. You need to think about your life partner, because, mate, if you guys are saying, another failed talking stage, bro, imagine a failed marriage. Let's really think about it like that. Like, don't jump into it thinking, okay, hopefully it works. Be certain on it. Like, don't waste time. We're not trying to do that here. And to round off, there like little things that people have put here, in which it says it should be as a guy, it should be his personal encounter or revelations not my pastor said this or my pastor said that, which is very true because there are times when stuff like that happen. Fitrim said, at the end of the day, time tells all. People have a way with words that can make you believe they are a great match. Take time, invest and pray on who you have. God's time is best. We got Farouk who has said, don't let anyone waste your time out here with their 3-4 year dating plan. Cool. And yeah, then we have Absro who's also said forced and rushed time won't last. So I genuinely hope that, you know, everyone watching today has learned, listened, or something has, you know, shifted something to teach you or to inspire you or to help you in one area or the other. I hope you have been blessed by this. I know we ran over time, so thank you for still being interactive, for all your comments. I love you all for tuning in and for all the love that you guys are showing. I appreciate you guys. I will let you know when we are back. We might need to invite your husband on for his side of the story next time, but definitely tune in. Let us know what you want to hear next. I did say as well that this would also be your platform. So please let me know what topics you want to hear next and we will go forth. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay blessed. We love you. God loves you. Take care.